Okay, so let's start today's AmiKit 12 setup guide for a Windows PC. If you like what you see today, hit notifications, subscribe and like so you don't miss upcoming retro emulation content here on my channel, just Jamie. That means you'll get notified every time I release a new setup guide, and it really helps out my channel too. So earlier on today, I uploaded a full review of the latest version of AmiKit. So if you're just coming over from that review, this is going to be the full setup guide. So what I'm going to do in this guide is actually get you up and running, how to use Amiga Forever with that to get your ROM files and everything else we need, and I'm also going to be showing you how to set up WHDLoad within AmiKit in WinUAE. So don't be too daunted by everything what I've just said. It's going to be slow paced like always in my setup guides. So first things first, like I mentioned in my setup guide, once you purchase AmiKit, you're going to get a download option. So download this, but don't get rid of that web page, because if we just scroll downwards, we're going to find a customer ID code, and we do need this code just to pop into AmiKit during the setup. So I'm actually going to make a copy of that customer ID code. Now, if you don't have Amiga Forever yet, this is the website, and I'll leave the link in my description. We got a few different versions of Amiga Forever. Now, if you go for the value edition, which is, as you can see, €19.95, just under €20 then, this is going to get you all your files you need to use with AmiKit 12. So I've already got all this, and I've got a digital copy of Amiga Forever just here, as you can see. So let's actually go through the process. So I've got my AmiKit executable just here. This is what Jan, the creator of AmiKit, kindly gave me. So what I need to do first of all is just double left click on that executable. So thanks for your purchase. So like I mentioned in my review, which I uploaded earlier on, it's very slick and very stylish. So here we go. So let's start setting up AmiKit 12. So what we're going to do first of all is just press next on here. Now the first thing we're going to need to do is put username in. Now I've put my email address in here, and that works fine. Now what I mentioned just a minute ago, before downloading this, you really want to make a copy of your customer ID, and this is where you need to put it. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to set this up. So I'm just going to pop in my ID number into that. Obviously I'm blurring this out so no one can take it from me. I'm going to go to next then. And the next thing we're going to want to do is select installation folder. So by default, this is going to go into your C drive, into your program files folder, and it's going to create a folder inside of program files, AmiKit XE. I don't want it to go in here. If you want it to go default, then that's up to you. Just press next. Otherwise, I'm going to go to new by right clicking on the desktop and create a new folder, and I'm going to call this folder AmiKit, and I'll just go into install it in there so it's easier to get to. So we're going to go to desktop, and here's my AmiKit folder, select folder, and then hit on next. Ready to install. And if you should get a pop-up asking you if you want to allow the app to make changes, then just press yes on this. And we're just going to wait for this to extract, and eventually it's then going to start installing. Okie doke, so once we've finished doing that, what we're going to do is just uncheck Launch AmiKit for now. And the next thing you're going to see is download required Picasso 96 version 2 graphics driver. So I recommend you leave this checked to download this. And the next option we're going to see, if you're not installing AmiKit with Amiga Forever, find a suitable Kickstart ROM 3.1. I'm actually going to check on this, and I'm going to go to finish. Here we go then, so AmiKit ROM find. So what this is going to do is scan our ROM file. So as it says, it needs ROM file version 3.1. So what I'm going to do is aim this start directory into where my ROM files are. So of course I got Amiga Forever just here. So if I right click on the shortcut, open file location. Now we got inside of here an Amiga files folder. If we just open this one, inside of here we got a shared folder and we got a ROM folder. So what I'm going to do is just go up to the search bar at the top of this Windows Explorer, left click on it, right, and copy. And if I then go back to the AmiKit ROM find, just backspace the location there, and I'm going to paste in that new location, and then I'm going to go to search. And here we go. So as we can see, ROM description, Kickstart ROM version 3.1, A1200 or Amiga 1200. So we're going to go to install now. Cool. And what we're going to do next then is actually open up AmiKit for the first time. So we can delete the executable of the setup, just so we don't get confused there. And here we go. We got the shortcut for AmiKit. It's going to say exe on it. If we double left click this one, and here we go, AmiKit. So we're going to go straight into launch. Just left click on this one. And it's going to tell you you're amazing, which you likely are if you're an Amiga fan. Okay, so we're going to see a new screen here. It's going to say that we need to download Picasso 96. It's going to automatically download it by itself. And it's also going to import Amiga OS from your source. So we're going to sort that out in a second. So all we need to do now is press enter. Okay, so as we can see, after pressing enter, it's now installed Picasso. And it's also detected Amiga Forever. As we can see, it's doing its thing. And here we go. So this can take a couple of minutes to go through this process, but we're going to leave this do its job. It's doing everything that we need in order to run AmiKit. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is press enter again, and like it's saying, this is going to ask us to select a screen mode. So let's just press enter here, and we're going to go to launch. And here we go. So this is our opportunity now to select screen mode. So in my case, I'm going to select the bottom option here. This is UAE 1920 by 1080 32-bit BGRA. Under colors, I'm going to make sure this is up to 16, and that's going to be fine. Okay, and I'm going to go down to save. And press enter. Here we go then, so we're now inside of AmiKit for the first time. Now the first thing we're going to see is additional software for AmiKit. Now we're going to press yes on this part. And you're going to see a little drawer at the top come up, a little window. And this is going to be downloading all the latest bits and pieces for the ultimate Amiga or AmiKit experience. So we're just going to wait for this to download and install things. Now the next thing you're going to see here is AmiKit Live Update. So again, we're going to need to use that customer ID, which I suggested copying just after or before you actually download the setup.executable. Under customer ID, I'm just going to paste in my customer ID again. And under my email, I'm just going to type in my email address. Now, you might notice that if you're in Britain and you're using, say, a British keyboard, your @ symbol might not work. So it's actually shift button and the digit 2. So AmiKit Live Update, I'm going to press OK. And if I then go over to available packages, as we can see just here, this is everything which has been installed up to a certain point. So this is what we're actually getting when we purchase version 10 of AmiKit. So as we can see just here, it goes up to 12.5.0. So what I'm going to do just here is just go to download now. And this is then going to install all those updates. Okie doke, so once everything has been downloaded and installed, we're going to get a little pop-up come up. AmiKit Live Update. Reboot is required to install the update. So I'm just going to left click on reboot now. And by the way, should you have an Amiga A500 Mini or the A500 Mini by Retro Gaming Consoles Limited, whatever they're called, you can actually use the tank mouse on a PC and it works just fine with AmiKit. Okay, so we're next up going to press enter, and this is going to restart AmiKit, complete with all of those new updates. Okay, now we're going to press launch. Okay, so first thing we're going to see on rebooting AmiKit is the selection for display mode. So of course I'm going to use what I used before, and that's UAE 1920 by 1080 32-bit. Just remember that just because I'm using this, it might not necessarily be the case for you. Obviously, different screens have got different resolutions, but this one works fine for me. I'm going to go to save, and I'm going to press enter. Cool, so that's it, we're fully updated. Okay then, so this is going to tell us what's new in AmiKit 12. Okay, so if I press my F12 key, that's going to bring up WinUAE, and of course WinUAE is operating a lot of things in the background. It's going to operate how controllers are used for games. It's going to indicate where games are located, that type of thing. So what I'm going to do is show you how to set up a WHDLoad folder. If you're not sure what WHDLoad is, it's the easiest way to play Amiga games, and it's the quickest way rather than waiting a few hours for a disk image to load. So what we're going to do is literally press F12, and that's going to bring us into WinUAE. From here, if I just go down to quit. Okay, so on my desktop I've got a WHDLoad folder. That's what I created. Inside of here I got some WHDLoad games. If I go inside of one of these, this is generally what the contents of a WHDLoad game is going to look like. So very similar to this. Some of them are slightly different than others. What we need to do then to actually link this up with AmiKit itself is, let's just go back into AmiKit and launch. Okay, so we're going to press F12 again, and from here what we're going to do is just use the cursor or your tank mouse, whatever you're using, and we're going to go over to CD and hard drives. Now don't be too scared by what you can see here. It looks pretty frightening, but it really isn't. Let's go to add directory or archive. Device name, I'm going to call this GA0, and volume label, I'm going to call this games. Now the next thing we're going to see is path. If I drop this down, we need to make sure this is going to that WHDLoad on my desktop. So we're going to go to select directory, desktop, and I'm going to just drop down until I find WHDLoad. If I select folder, I'm going to uncheck bootable and press OK. And as we can see in the top section just here, we're going to find my games volume is now just there. So what we're going to do next is go into configurations, and I'm going to save this so we don't have to do this every time. So down to save, and we are now going to go to OK. And as we can see in AmiKit, we've now got a drive here which says games on it. Of course, that's our WHDLoad games that I've just set up. Okay, so this is the populating list of my WHDLoad games. Looks a little bit ugly and a bit messy. Let's just close out of there. Now with AmiKit, we got a program called iGames, and we can actually import our games through that system. If we go down to the bottom left, we're going to find that AmiKit logo. What we're going to do is go up to games and up to iGame. Here we go. So we got games already installed or whatever from AmiKit, which comes with the installation. We're actually gonna put our own games in there. If we right click preferences and just left click on repositories, this is going to open up a new window just here, and we're going to left click on that little folder, and just here on the right hand side you should find GA0, which I've just entered in to WinUAE. If I just select this one and go down to OK, and next up we're just going to press add, and here we go, it's now added games. If I close this, next up on iGame I'm going to right click again, actions, and up to scan repositories. And as we can see just here at the bottom of this window it says games, and what this is doing is scanning through all the WHDLoad games, so we're just going to wait for this. Okie doke, so that's now scanned our games, and as you can see we got a list here of Amiga games in WHDLoad format. So if I double left click on one of these, let's just randomly go for 9 lives, just double left click, and here we go. Yes, it's quite an appalling game, 9 lives, but it's just a setup guide at the end of the day. So we're going to need to connect a controller for this. And just remember, to access WinUAE, it's just literally a case of pressing F12. So I've just synced my controller to my computer, so we need to tell WinUAE how to read it. So what we're going to do is go to game ports, and we got port 1 just here, which is going to be for the mouse, and we got port 2, which currently says keyboard layout. If I left click and drop this down, I'm going to find my Bluetooth X input device just here. So I'm going to select that, and whilst we're here we can actually swap ports. So some Amiga games, in fact many Amiga games, could be pretty annoying where we might have to left click to enter a game, that type of thing. So if this is what you're facing, then just go into the WinUAE menu just there, just go to swap ports. So what I'm going to do is leave my controller to port 2 and go down to OK. So that's enough of 9 lives for now. That game truly is shocking. Now what we can actually do is actually bring up a virtual keyboard. So if you watch what I do, I'm actually going to press Y on my controller whilst I'm in game. And as you can see, we've got virtual keyboard up here. Now the thing is with WHDLoad games, before they load, it will actually bring up a little pop-up, a little window in the center of your screen. It will tell you how to exit the game. Because of modern day keyboards, some of those keys aren't on modern day keyboards like they would have been, say, 30 years ago. So what I'm going to do is just open up WinUAE and just go down to reset. And bearing in mind, you can also use the virtual keyboard whilst we're in AmiKit itself, like I'm doing right now. Okie doke, so let's just say you don't have any luck booting your game straight away. So I mentioned in the review today that we actually need to place some ROM files into a T folder. So if we just close out of AmiKit, so if I go down to the logo at the bottom left and shut down, if I then go down and shut down AmiKit, okay, so I'm going to go to my AmiKit XE shortcut. If I right click on that and down to open file location, if I then go into the rabbit hole folder, I got a ROMs folder in here. What I'm going to do is just open up the put kick.rom here .text. Now as you can see, I've already got kick.rom, but if you're missing this, kick.rom goes in this one just here. Now once this text document is brought up, as we can see just here, it's actually going to tell us which files we need and where they're going to go in order for your games to work. So it's saying right just here, you might want to enable WHDLoad support so you can play games such as Another World. To do so, copy the same kick.rom 1200 file to AmiKit rabbit hole T folder. So what this is saying right here is, if we come back out, I'm going to copy that kick.rom and come out of ROMs and into the T folder, and I'm going to paste this kick.rom just here. And if we open up the text document once again, it's going to give us some further information. So if you have other kick.rom files, such as the A500 ROM files, as we can see just there, and the .A600, A4000, it's actually telling you they need to also go into that AmiKit rabbit hole T folder. So like I say, it's absolutely essential, I think, for you to buy Amiga Forever, because you've got all these files inside. If we open up the shortcut for Amiga Forever, just right click, open file location. If we go into the Amiga files folder, just remember that the majority of these files are in the shared folder, in the ROM folder, and this is what Amiga Forever comes with. Loads of these files just here which we can use. And whilst I'm here, we've also got an ADF folder which has got lots of different OS, Workbench, ADF floppy disk images just here. So like I've been saying, it's definitely worth your while of purchasing Amiga Forever to go with your AmiKit. But anyways, that's it for today's basic setup guide for AmiKit 12 and how to set up WHDLoad games. So hopefully you're enjoying this system as much as I did, and I really enjoyed doing the review earlier on for this. Anyways, if you liked today's video, hit notifications, subscribe and like so you don't miss upcoming retro emulation content here on my channel, just Jamie. And just remember that I will be uploading how to actually set up a dedicated machine for AmiKit at some point, once I can afford a cheap computer from somewhere. Anyways, join me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. But until next time, stay retro.